There's a decision that sits in front of every empath. Most of them see it. Most of them understand it intellectually, but very few of them actually make it. Because making it means dismantling every belief they've ever held about what it means to be a good person. The decision is this: to stop being available for people who are only available when they need something from you. It sounds obvious when you hear it, but for an empath, this decision is anything but obvious. It feels like amputation. It feels like abandoning everything that makes them who they are. Because the empath has built their entire identity around being the one who shows up, the one who answers the call at 2 in the morning, the one who drops everything when someone is in crisis, the one who forgives before anyone asks for forgiveness. To choose differently feels like choosing to become someone they wouldn't recognize in the mirror. But Carl Jung would tell you that this unrecognizable version is actually the real one. The version that's been buried under decades of compulsive caretaking. The version that existed before the empath learned that their worth was contingent on their willingness to disappear for others. Jung studied what he called the persona, the mask we construct to navigate social expectations. For most people, the persona is a partial distortion. They exaggerate certain traits, suppress others, and present a curated version of themselves to the world. But for empaths, Jung found that the persona doesn't just distort, it replaces. The empath's constructed identity as the healer, the giver, the always available one becomes so total that there's nothing visible underneath. They don't wear the mask. They've become it. This is why the life choice feels so devastating. The empath isn't just changing a behavior. They're threatening the very structure they've mistaken for their identity. And every system around them, family, friendships, romantic partnerships, will fight to keep that structure intact. Because that structure serves everyone except the person wearing it. Jung observed something remarkable about the moment empaths begin making this choice. The resistance doesn't come primarily from within. It comes from the environment. The empath decides to stop being perpetually available, and suddenly people who haven't checked on them in months want to know what's wrong. They set a limit on their emotional labor, and relatives start using words like ungrateful, changed, cold. They stop absorbing someone's crisis as their own emergency, and that person acts as though the empath has committed an act of violence against them. Jung recognized this pattern as homeostasis in action. Systems don't want to change. They want to maintain equilibrium, even when that equilibrium is built entirely on one person's self-destruction. The empath has been functioning as the emotional shock absorber for every system they belong to. When they stop absorbing, the shocks have to go somewhere, and the system would rather destroy the empath's resolve than deal with its own dysfunction. This is where most empaths retreat. They feel the pushback, they see the disappointment, they hear the accusations, and the old programming fires up immediately. You're hurting people, you're being selfish, this isn't who you are. Go back, fix it, make everyone comfortable again. But Jung would say that this moment of retreat is the most dangerous moment in the empath's entire psychological life. Because every time they retreat, the persona calcifies further. Every time they abandon their own needs to restore someone else's comfort, they lose a little more access to the self underneath. Every time they choose the system over themselves, they teach their nervous system that their own survival doesn't matter. And eventually, that lesson takes root so deeply that the empath stops feeling the desire to choose themselves at all. They mistake their cage for their home. The life choice that changes everything is the empath deciding consciously and with full awareness of the cost that they will no longer participate in dynamics that require their diminishment, not reducing their participation, not negotiating better terms within the same broken framework, leaving the framework entirely. Jung described this as a form of psychological death and rebirth. The old self, the self that derived all meaning from being needed, has to die. And that death is not metaphorical. The empath genuinely grieves. They grieve the relationships that cannot survive their wholeness. They grieve the image of themselves as endlessly giving. They grieve the simplicity of a life where their purpose was clear, even if that purpose was slowly killing them. What replaces the old self is disorienting at first. The empath wakes up and nobody needs rescuing. They go through an entire day without performing emotional labor for someone who never asked how they were doing. They sit in silence and realize they don't know what they enjoy, what they want, what brings them pleasure outside of being useful to another person. Jung noted that this emptiness is not a failure. It's a space that was always occupied by other people's needs and is now, for the first time, available for the empath's own life. Filling that space takes courage that looks nothing like the courage empaths are used to. The old courage was dramatic, running towards someone else's fire. The new courage is quiet, sitting still while someone else's fire burns and trusting that it's not yours to extinguish. Learning your own preferences after years of automatically deferring. Tolerating the discomfort of being perceived as less generous when you know you're actually becoming more honest. Jung found that empaths who make this choice and sustain it through the inevitable backlash undergo a transformation that affects every area of their life. Their health improves because they're no longer carrying the physiological burden of chronic hypervigilance. Their creativity returns because the mental bandwidth that was consumed by managing other people's emotions is suddenly available for their own ideas. Their relationships deepen, not because they have more of them, but because the ones that remain are built on genuine reciprocity instead of the empath's one-sided investment. But perhaps the most profound change Jung documented was this: the empath's empathy doesn't diminish, it clarifies. Before the choice, the empath felt everything indiscriminately. Every emotion in the room was their responsibility. Every person's pain was their assignment. After the choice, the empath still feels, but they feel with discernment. They can sense someone's suffering without being conscripted into resolving it. They can hold space for pain without losing themselves inside it. They can love fully without abandoning their own ground. This is the life choice that changes everything. Not the decision to stop caring. The decision to start including yourself in the circle of people you care about. Not the decision to become hard. The decision to stop being so soft that anyone can reshape you to fit their needs. Not the decision to close off. The decision to finally open the door to your own life and walk through it. Jung would tell you that most people never make this choice. They live and die inside the persona, never knowing who they actually were underneath. But the empath who makes it, who endures the grief and the backlash and the terrifying silence of a life no longer organized around someone else's emergencies, that empath discovers something they never expected. That the person they spent their whole life taking care of everyone else to avoid becoming was the person they were always supposed to be. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep the world warm. You never were. The choice to finally believe that isn't the end of your empathy. It's the beginning of your life.